Hi, it's James Harrison here to talk about the next Daily Drumming Influences Revisited. Originally posted in 2012. Today it is Billy Cobham. I first became aware, I had heard of Billy Cobham through some friends who mentioned his name and talking about some of the people he played with. But my first exposure, if I'm not mistaken, was going to a jazz festival at Memphis State University, now called the University of Memphis, and seeing him there. But if that wasn't it, it was a festival of some kind. And he did a clinic, and I remember him, playing match grip, traditional grip this way, reversing it, playing it this way, playing every which way you could possibly think of with left hand lead, right hand lead. And I had never done anything but the typical right hand lead type stuff. So I was pretty impressed with that. And then his explosiveness on the drum set at the time and the amount of notes that he could put in there sometimes that it was just amazing and mind-blowing to me at that time. But he still had a musical sense about him. And then flash forward, however they said it, many years later in the 90s, while playing with a group in Boise that did a series of jazz big band concerts, the group was called the Wind Machine. Billy Cobham was a guest artist. And so I talked to him on the phone on the way from the airport, actually. I said, "What do you want for a setup?" He said, "I don't care." I said, "Well, I have two Yamaha kits. One is a Maple Custom, and one is at the time was called the Power V. And both were exactly the same sizes and setups. They were pretty big kits." He said, "I don't care. The Power V's fine." I go, "Oh, okay." So I set it up, and he came in and made a few adjustments and played on the kit. Was super nice, super gracious, and whatnot. And he watched a little bit of us rehearsing while he was tweaking a few things, and then he did a clinic the next day, if I'm not mistaken. Seems like the clinic might have been on a Sunday afternoon, and the concert was a Monday night. I think it was something like that. Anyway, so I set up the drums for him at the clinic and whatnot. And somebody asked him a question about inspiring drummers and hearing things you like, and he actually said, "Oh, James did something in rehearsal yesterday. It was a pretty cool lick. I like that." So that inspired me, and I'm like, wow. I was blown away. He could have just been being gracious. However, the cool thing about it, the concert was, well, first off, he did a drum solo by himself that had everybody on the edge of their seats because he got so quiet and so spacious and took it from nothing to this tremendous thing and then back to nothing. And it was so musical, and he had everybody just on the edge of their seats wondering what was going to happen. And it wasn't the typical Billy Cobham stuff that I'd heard, so I was amazed by that. But again, one of the highlights of my life was that we got to do what most people call a drum battle. It's just an exchange of drumming stuff back and forth. I'm drawing a blank on what the tune was off the top of my head. It was a Latinish tune of some kind. And we were supposed to do something where we exchanged back and forth, and it was going to be a pretty long start. Like it might have been 64 bars each or 32 bars each, or it might have been counts, I don't remember. But him, me, and then we cut it in half at like 32, 16, 16, 16, 16, 8, 8, 8, 8, 4, 4, 4, 4, 2, 2, 2, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1. It was supposed to happen like that. And it didn't. Needless to say, the band got lost or didn't come in correctly, so we just kind of went with it until they counted the band back in. It was fun. I've got it on video. I did the best I could, but of course, he was just amazing. And again, super gracious to me, very nice, in fantastic shape. Looks like he could play, as a football player right now. He still looks in tremendous shape. And again, he was very gracious, very kind, and autographed a few things for me. I just saw him last week on a video. I guess you would call it a podcast or a show of something. It's called the Drummers Education Network. And they had him as a guest on there, where they had him on there for about an hour. And it's very good. You go back and listen to that. Drummers Education Network. You can find it on social media. You can find it on YouTube, and that session from last week is on there. I had to catch it just afterwards. I didn't catch it live, but I caught it right afterwards on a replay, and it was tremendous. And again, Billy Cobham was and still is one of the major forces in drumming and a huge influence on me. A couple of his albums, well, I mean, I've got several of his albums, but I think the one that there were two of them. One of them was called, I think one was called Spectrum. I always hate when I draw a blank on the videos on because it's harder to cover. But needless to say, they were both great. His DCI videos he put out back in the day, tremendous. And so definitely an influence. I got to meet him a few times in my life, but that one hang in Boise was the biggest and the best one for me. So a lasting impression for life, and a drummer who left a lasting impression on me, period, as a major influence, Billy Cobham.